Most people think sickness is something that happens to them, but sickness is often the only moment life finally makes sense. Because when you're sick, the nervous system gets a reprieve. People become gentler around you. Expectations disappear. And suddenly, you're allowed to rest. Illness becomes the only socially acceptable way to step out of that pressure. The emails stop. The expectations pause. The tone around you changes. And whether you notice it or not, something in the system finally gets what it hasn't had in a long time: relief. And if that is true, then sickness may not only be a problem, it may also be solving one. If sickness is solving something, then the real question isn't, how do I get rid of it? The real question is, what is it signaling? When you're healthy, you're expected to function, to show up, you're expected to produce, you're expected to hold things together. But when you're sick, the demands fall away. And suddenly, you're allowed to stop. You're allowed to stop holding everything together. No one questions it. No one pushes you. No one expects you to perform. And for a nervous system living under constant pressure, that moment feels like reprieve. Sickness carries information. What is the payoff? If sickness brings relief, something in your system registers it, not consciously, but neurologically. The body doesn't start this process. It follows the mind. And the mind has one primary job: survival, self-preservation. It constantly scans for stability. Its job is to look for certainty and predictability. So when the mind thinks, I cannot keep living like this, and almost immediately it argues back, I should be able to handle it. Now the mind is conflicted. One part wants rest, but another part feels guilty for wanting it. And when that contradiction builds long enough, the body becomes the messenger. The system finds the only exit it can. And when pressure becomes unbearable, the body reflects that dis-ease. This is not blame, it is survival. And it begins innocently. So think about being a kid. Maybe there was a day that you didn't want to go to school, a bully you wanted to avoid, a test that you didn't want to do, and suddenly your stomach hurts. You feel nauseous, you develop a headache, and you get to stay home. It happens instantly, before thought, before intention. Your mind finds a way to protect you. It decides before conscious thought begins. And that intelligence never disappears. It adapts. The nervous system is not wired for happiness. It is wired for survival. And survival always chooses the safest available option, even if that option is painful. Illness becomes permission to take care of yourself. If you take time off while healthy, you feel guilty. If you say no, you feel selfish. If you slow down, you feel left behind. But when you're sick, rest becomes justified. Now it's acceptable. Now people understand. So the system learns a rule. The only way I'm allowed to stop is if something is wrong with me. And when that decision exists, the body cooperates. But rest is not the only payoff. Sometimes illness protects something deeper: identity. People build identities around struggle: the strong one, the responsible one, the helper, the one carrying everything. Those roles come with pressure, constant pressure, pressure to perform, pressure to prove, pressure to hold everything together. Now imagine that identity disappears. The strong one disappears. The responsible one disappears. The one everyone depends on disappears. That can feel terrifying, because the role becomes the self-concept, and the mind quietly argues to keep it, to defend it at all cost. So the system adapts brilliantly. Illness suspends the role temporarily. The same mind that pushed you to keep going now exhales when you step out of it. Because when you're sick, you're no longer the strong one. You're no longer the one carrying everything. You become the one being taken care of. And for many nervous systems, that is the only moment they have ever felt safe. There can also be guilt. Guilt for being well. Guilt for being happy when others suffer. Guilt for surpassing your parents. Guilt for leaving the wounded tribe. Guilt for forgiving the identity you grew up inside. And illness becomes loyalty to that story. If I struggle to, I belong. Now, seeing this doesn't mean your pain isn't real. It means the survival system adapts intelligently. It finds ways to survive pressure, ways to receive care, ways to interrupt patterns that feel impossible to escape. And sometimes it finds a way to receive care without having to ask for it. Because asking for help can feel impossible for someone who learned they had to do everything by themselves. So illness resolves that contradiction. Care arrives without vulnerability. Support appears without having to admit you need it. And if we listen closely, sickness carries wisdom. It points to something missing, the capacity to live without pressure, without the urgency to prove, without performing for love, without holding the world together just to feel worthy. Your mind was trying to protect you, and the moment protection is no longer needed, what remains is simple. You, without the role, without the pressure, without the urgency or the need to justify your existence. And from there, life no longer has to be survived. It can finally be lived. Simply alive.